Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Today I'm pretty excited. I'm finally going to fulfill the very first goal I had on Patreon, and that was to get Johnnie Walker Blue and do a review of it. Now, I hit the goal a little while ago, but I wanted to go through all of the Johnnie Walkers kind of in succession in order to get a true appreciation of the brand. And I'm finally there. So now I'm going to be reviewing the Johnnie Walker Blue. So anybody out there watching this, if you are any sort of interest in whiskey, you've heard of Johnnie Walker Blue. You know that Johnnie Walker is the biggest whiskey brand in the world, and this is their most expensive whiskey. So of course it's going to be well known as being kind of the pinnacle of Johnnie Walker. And ever since it was released in 1992, that has been the message that Johnnie Walker has been putting forward, and their marketing team has done a fantastic job of this. It's designed to kind of celebrate Scotland. It's designed similar to the Platinum here to kind of take all the different parts of Scotland and put them into a single bottle. And because of that, this is a no-age statement. They're more going for a flavor profile. This isn't about having like a 40-year-old whiskey. This is about having something that was particularly crafted from rare whiskeys to have a certain flavor profile. And that's exactly what they did. Now, the interesting thing that I learned is the flavor profile they're trying to match is actually something that was more prevalent in roughly the 1800s. And this is just kind of the way that blended Scotch used to taste, which is kind of funny. It's almost like when you hear about, people in early America would not want to eat lobster because it was viewed as kind of a gross thing, and they gave it to the poor. But then obviously now we cherish lobster. It's the same, like people back in the 1800s probably didn't even realize what they were drinking, and the fact that it's so celebrated now. Anyway, there's been over 25 different special editions of Johnnie Walker, and the most recent of which is called the Ghost and Rare, and it was released earlier this year in 2018. But there isn't much information about exactly what makes up Johnnie Walker Blue, and I suspect that has something to do with the fact that it changes frequently. As I said, they're trying to meet a certain profile. But anyway, let's go into the nosing and the tasting of this guy, because it deserves me to kind of get to it. One thing I love, this is one of the silliest things I've seen, but I still kind of like it. This little tiny bottle has a little tiny cork. And I don't know, I just found that a little funny. Oh, and there's one more thing. I hope you can see this. I'm gonna actually hold it back here because I think that's where my focal length is set for. At the bottom of this, this comes in the same box as like the Platinum and the Gold, and clearly they want it to stand out between the two, so it's taller, right? But the thing is that the glass itself is very thick on the bottom, so they are the exact same size. They're just, it's a little bit more glass. Anyway, I saw that earlier today and I laughed about it. I thought it was kind of silly. All right, let's go ahead and pour this. I'll pour a decent size sip there. All right, put you back there. So on the nose is actually very interesting on this one. So the nose is beautiful. It is a well-crafted nose. One of the things that I get on the nose that I don't usually get, and I found it interesting that I could even differentiate the two, is orange juice rather than like an orange. It's just more that same orange flavor or smell, but it's sweeter, is kind of how I would describe it. You've also got some toffee and some leather, a little hint of smoke. So once again, they did a pretty good job kind of going around the different areas of Scotland. And all of them are fairly well blended. So although it's actually a little hard to pick these out individually, they all work very well together. It's just a very, very pleasant nose. So let's go ahead and taste it. Cheers. So, this is the interesting thing about Johnnie Walker Blue. The taste is not phenomenal. The taste is good, don't get me wrong. I certainly don't want to paint this in a bad light. But when you're looking at a bottle that typically costs about $200, and this is the taste that you get, it doesn't follow the nose. The nose smells like a $200 bottle of whiskey. The taste is more along the lines of like a $100 bottle of Scotch. Anyway, the taste that I'm getting, it immediately starts out with oily. Now that's strange because this particular bottle is only 40% ABV. You usually don't get oily until you get up a little higher. You also get salty, smoky, little honey malt. So, you know, that honey malt is a very specific kind of malt. I believe it's made in Canada or somewhere in there, but it more just describes the flavor. You've got a maltiness and honey. And then you get some dried fruits. So it's got a lot going on, but the taste itself is consistently rated by whiskey reviewers as being kind of like a B to a B plus, if you want to think of it that way. Now, I personally don't give out ratings similar to, you know, grades, but I do kind of agree with their assessment. This is certainly not an A plus dram. All right, so I've talked enough about that. Kind of overall. So Johnnie Walker Blue is not meant to be the end-all be-all of whiskey. It never will, and it never intended on it. It was meant to be the most expensive offering from the world's largest brand, which by default makes it a coveted thing. So should you go out and buy yourself a Johnnie Walker Blue? I say 100% no. What I do think you should do is you should go to a bar that has it, and you should try some. And, you know, you'll pay anywhere, honestly, from $17 to $40, depending on where you are for the dram. But my opinion of Johnnie Walker is it's meant to be a gift. It's kind of like a nickname. You don't give one to yourself. You buy Johnnie Walker Blue for somebody else. And it's supposed to be everything from, you know, a common man kind of celebrating the birth of a kid to even Richard Nixon used to drink this stuff actually very frequently. He would mix it with ginger ale and lime, which I didn't have the heart to do. Although before this bottle's gone, maybe I'll give it a shot. It felt wrong. But you know, that's how he liked it, so whatever. This is, once again, not something I think you should spend your own money on, but let this be a gift from somebody for a special occasion, and you will appreciate it significantly more. So, I hope you enjoyed my review of Johnnie Walker Blue, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Cheers. Oh, by the way, I'll put a link to the playlist of all the Johnnie Walkers, so if you haven't been watching me ever since, you know, kind of I started doing this stuff, I'll start it right at Johnnie Walker Red, and you'll get hopefully a good laugh. All right, thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. Cheers.